going to be talking about Black Women's Equal Pay Day. For those that do not know, currently Black women make 62 cents to the dollar. So why August 13th, you might ask? August 13th is the day that it would take for Black women to make the same amount as their white counterparts from last year. So the amount that they made last year, it would take until today for Black women to make that same amount of money. So I see that Mocha has joined the line. Let me see if we can get Mocha up here with me. Mocha, like I said earlier, she is a phenomenal individual. She is the woman behind so many amazing authors and brands. Hi, Mocha.
Hi.
I'm like, I know we had some technical issues earlier and it wasn't connecting, and we had, hopefully everybody who was on earlier, they'll jump over to this one. Yeah. So Mocha, talk to us about, okay, so one of the things that I was talking about was just understanding who you are and the value add that you bring to the table, and having an understanding around that before you walk into the room to talk about negotiating. So talk to us a little bit about like your business, the Oracle Media Group, and like, I mean, you've been doing it for how long? Like
16 years now.
Yeah, like almost 20 years. That is crazy.
Yeah, when you think about it, huh?
So, but what, okay, so let's even start with you. Like, how did, or what made you decide to go into business for yourself?
Sure. Well, I decided to go into business for myself because I was working for one of the big big box, I guess, Barnes and Noble. So working for them, and then I was like the downtown DC store, so it was like Chocolate City, Barnes and Noble. So when tours would come through, we would get the Black authors, and then we were also responsible for doing things like, I don't know if you remember, like Barnes and Noble used to have the parent-teacher night, and the parent night where the teachers would come in and all of that. And, I just had to look at the people that were coming in and looking at, a lot of them are working 9 to 5. They don't have time to come in and get cheesecake and all of that stuff and pick out books for their kids. So it was a different way. I had to use a different model to do different things to reach out to my people to get the same objectives done for Barnes and Noble. And then I thought, you know what? I can do this myself. Let them keep their model, but there's another way to reach our people because we consume information differently, purchase under different influence, and we don't necessarily like the sterile store anyway. So that's when we moved out to doing author events in non-traditional places. And now we've branched off into publishing as well. So it's been 16 years and we just love the book business, I guess. We get to keep going.
Now, was there ever a time where you felt like you showed up and you were like, look, I need to be paid more for this because you need the skill set that I'm bringing to the table? Did you ever run into that?
Oh, absolutely. There was one time when I was at a crossroads with my business because what I would do is I would do the author event and I would purchase the books wholesale. And then whoever came and bought books, that's how I would make money. So, of course, they were sending me, the big publishers were sending me all these folks. They don't have to pay for it. They just got to get the person there. But what happened was I was starting to compete with Amazon. Why would you come and get a book from me for $25 and I'm making my money off the margin when you can just get it from Amazon for $15, come to the same event. I'm not going to turn you down and say, you've got a book, you can't get it signed unless you buy it from me. Right. Not me. So I had to then now go to the publishers and talk to them about the value that I was actually bringing to them. I'm bringing a list. I'm putting these folks on media when they come into town. I'm getting the crowd. That is worth this much. And I had to change from a publicity, from a event company to a publicity and marketing company. And making that transition and having them pay for it, really I had to dig real deep into what I actually had to offer because it was a different model than they were paying for before.
Now, how did you know to pivot? Because a lot of times people get so stuck in what they feel like, oh, this is my thing, and not knowing like, okay, well, your thing might be cute, but is it getting the money that you want to generate?
I had babies to feed. That's what, that's what helped me pivot. because you do enough events where you've got to rent the place out sometimes, unless you've got a partnership with the space. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
rent the place out, or if you're like at a lounge or something, you've got a bar minimum. And if
Mm-hmm.
people aren't drinking, if people aren't meeting that bar minimum, that means before you leave, you've got to pay the rest
That
of it,
deficit.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was things like tired of hauling books and tired of doing that. And at the end of the night, not making what I needed to make and just getting burnt out with that. And like I said, I had babies to feed. I had to stand up in, I can't do this anymore without this price. But thankfully, I had done it enough years and had a good enough track record that I could point and say, I've done this and this and this and this for you, where you can't reach. I
Mm-hmm.
can, and this is what it will cost. They either said yes or no. So I would do it and be like, that's how they started saying yes. And it was like, okay, from there. So yeah, yeah.
So how did you know, like, what price to put? Because I think that that's the other thing that people struggle with. I was on the phone with a gentleman, like, right before we got started, and he was saying his wife just applied for a job.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I told her, don't take the first offer that they put out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so she didn't. And the company applauded her because she didn't. And they were like, most women just take whatever we tell them.
Right, right.
So, why do we do that? And why are we so afraid to ask for what we feel like we're worth? Or is it because we don't know what we're worth?
We don't. A lot of it is we don't, and it's fear. And I'll tell you this, when I first started out, I was just like, again, I was like this. Then I was like, wait a minute. Oh my gosh, they're going to pay me. Right. So, I had to go from that stage to, oh, they're paying me, to, wait a minute, I'm worth more than this. And that really had to do a whole lot with a lot of self-searching, the hard stuff. And I don't think it just applies to jobs, especially with us women. It applies to everything in life, from jobs to relationships to just everything. You've got to stop. You've got to dig. You've got to look at what I'm worth. My experience, what I bring to the table, who I am, what am I going to take and what am I not going to take, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And you have to be willing to walk away, because 9 times out of 10, the low ballers drive you crazy because they didn't appreciate you in the first place. So if they didn't appreciate your value in the first place, the little money that they're giving you, they're going to expect the world for it. They're not appreciating you in the first place. So I would say really dig deep and know your worth, know yourself, know that you know what you're worth, and then bring that number to the table. And they take it or leave it. Your loss.
But you got mouths to feed, so you scared.
You do, but I also have a whole lot of faith. And I also have not so much time to waste with the low ballers who are going to pay me a little bit of money and calling me at midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning, which then turns the money. It could turn into, like, let's say you said $25 an hour. Let's just say, I'm just putting that out there. Let's just say you said $25 an hour. But when people are calling you 15 and 18 hours a day, how much is that hourly rate now? Right? So you even have to put parameters around, okay, fine, let's say that this is their budget. These are the amount of hours you get for that budget.
Right.
Take the contract, but these are your hours and that's it.
And so in your experience, what was the event? Or did anything happen where you had an aha moment where you were like, you know what? This is it. Yes. It's like, it's Mocha or nothing. Like, I'm going all in, and you're either going to pay me my worth or I'm walking.
Yeah. I definitely had that. And it was a time where everything was due and I was just exhausted. And by that time I had 3 children and I was working with a very prominent politician, and they had a book out, and they not only, so I was the exclusive seller for every event they were doing around the city. So I would do, the marketing, all of that. But then when they came to me and they said, now check this out. They said to me, now before that I'd been thinking, It's time to move on. It's time to, but life has a way of pushing you to where you may not think you want to go, but when it comes to your integrity, it becomes enough is enough. So called me to the side and said, okay, remember I was saying that I would get the books wholesale and make a profit margin off of what the retail value is. Let's say I buy it from the publisher for $15. The retail price of the book is $25. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm making that in between margin.
Mm-hmm.
So when you, the writer, who's already making money off of the 40 you and the publisher are splitting, then come to me and tell me that you need part of my markup, number one, you've already got an advance. Number two, every book that's sold, you're already getting paid. Now you want to cut into mine too? And keep in mind, at that time, it was my only client. And I said, Lord, I said, it's either my dignity and what I'm worth, I'm going to stand in what I'm worth, or I can't do this at all. Because number one, this client right now has no respect. So number one, you're showing up at a place and you're just like mad, you know? So when it comes to that's why I'm saying that your self-respect and your self-worth is so important to be able to stand up before you can even start negotiating price point. Know what you know, what you're worth, all of your experience, everything you've been through, what you've done for other people, the references that you had. Walk in that and stand in it. I'm not going to say there are not times you're not tempted to take the little ones just to make some money.
Right.
You do take them, put parameters around them, and also know that they're lowballing you and they're going to come in with some lowballing stuff with them.
So how do you know, like, what would be like two things for people to look at in determining their worth? Because there's some people who think that they're real worthy and you're like, bae, like what have you done?
Right.
Where did you get this figure from?
Look.
You know, so what are like two things that people should be mindful of when coming up with a price point and saying, okay, well, this is what I know I deserve to be paid?
Mm-hmm. Definitely do market value, market research. Definitely do that, because on this day and age of internet stuff, I've seen, I mean, it's the wild, wild west out there. It's like, okay, I'm a marketing person in my industry. I'm a book marketing person. I do this, I do that. And I can help you get on the New York Times bestseller list, but have you been on the New York Times bestseller? And show me the books you've put on, not what you read, but show me the books that you've got on the list. So when you're coming to charging what you're worth, I would look around at, what is the current market value of what you do? And then what is your unique flair that you bring to the table? And what is that worth? And come up with a number that you're comfortable with and have your margin. And also always pitch higher, because if they want to negotiate with you, negotiate down, you're getting to your number anyways. Shoot higher. If you get that money, hey. If you don't, negotiate it down to what you thought you were going to get in the first place. But don't discount market value, and don't discount what you bring to the table that anybody else can't. And make sure you put that in there. And when you're presenting, make sure that you are saying this, that yes, I know that there are other people out there, but what I bring to the table that's unique, that you're not going to get from those people, is this, and let them determine the value of that.
And so what do you say is like that unique value add that people should be thinking about? Like before you walk in a room, like it can't just be, oh, you're sitting there and you're just like, and you're kind of like stuck and you don't really know really what you're bringing to the table. So like the prep work, the preparation before you, whether you are on the job working for somebody or if you are a business owner, right? You have to know who you are. You have to know that audience that you specifically can tap into. And you have to have that differentiator about yourself.
Right.
And so for you, are there any things that you're doing unique and different today?
Oh, definitely. Some of this is going to say, okay, one, don't be afraid to name drop. Don't be afraid to.
So name drop. Who you been working with, Margot?
I mean, I've worked with a few. I think one of my favorites has been Jennifer Lewis. Definitely,
Okay.
I learned so much from her and so much about the importance of mental health and making sure that you're taking care of your mental health. She also talked about worthiness a lot. I learned a lot about her of what to take and what not to take in life. I would say I learned a lot from, you know, in the beginning, they would throw all the Black authors off. Big companies would throw all the Black authors at me. And I used to be like, oh, I read all books. But it has been such a blessing because with every client, I learned something. And I would say that the most valuable lesson that I've learned in the past few years was, and I say it to my daughter all the time, she's 19, she's just coming up in this thing. Listen, you have the brains, but do not forget a couple things. One, don't forget your Blackness as you walk into the room. That is not a crutch. That is not a thing to be, oh my gosh, how do I make them see me a little bit more white and don't see color? No, that is an asset. We've seen that. Joe Biden would not be where he was without. That's why he had no choice but to pick the running mate that he chose, because Black women, for the most part, were the ones that said we showed up. Now we show up. We've got a reputation for that. We show up. We get the job done. No, it's not angry stuff. It's a certain way that we have that we push and we get the job done. That's not a negative. That's just who we are. And that's just our magic that we bring in with us. Nobody's saying to be walking anywhere and, you know, just walk in and just be bad attitude. No. But there's a certain je ne sais quoi that we have, that we bring to the table, and don't be ashamed of that. Nurture it, hone it, and use it to your advantage, because that's one of the things that you'll have over the next person. Two, I hate to say this, it's so superficial. In the last year and a half, I've lost weight. I have cut all my hair off. But I'm saying this to say I had to get comfortable with me. Now, I'm not saying that anyone bigger than me, when I was bigger, didn't feel like I could walk into a room and be myself. I'm not tiny now, but I like the little curves that I have now, and I'm confident.
You look good, Mocha.
I like my short hair. I walk into a room and I feel like, yeah, don't play with me. Here I am with a big smile, but it makes me feel just a little bit more assertive. So things that you can do on the outside, and I'll use Hillary Clinton as the example. I think a portion of why she didn't get to where she was is the authenticity of it. They tried to make her appear just like another man candidate out there. Well, you can't. You're a woman. So whatever that feminine energy that she needed to do to portray and not let people play it down, bring that to the table. We are always told as women, don't bring that femininity to the table. You can leave that bring it.
All of it. All of it.
Bring all your assets to the table. So
and knowing what they are. You know, I always do an exercise with people in my programs where I say, ask other people like 3 different characteristics about you.
Yeah.
And just see what overlaps. If you agree with it. Because at the end of the day, we don't realize that we are a walking brand. We are a billboard. We are our own best or worst, whatever it is. Yeah. You know, you have to be able to show up and say, okay, this is who I am, but who you perceive yourself to be, is that what everybody else is saying? Is that what everybody else is saying about you?
I got caught up in being a mom and looking like a mom and forgetting that I also have to be in a boardroom. So there are times it says what a mom looks like. So we've got to remember those things. If you're going to be a business owner, you got to show up like a business owner and a mom.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's no difference. It's whatever you define it to be. But when you're in that boardroom, show up as a business owner, because nobody cares that you just burnt breakfast this morning. So
nobody. It's so funny because I literally, in the book Her Therapy that I wrote, that's one of the things that I talk about, even just with me. I'm Angel before I was a mama. I was Angel before I was anybody's wife. I'm Angel now that I'm divorced. So Angel has to be content and happy with who Angel is. And then I can be my best self in all of the other areas that I have to show.
Or else nothing else is going to work. If Angel's not happy, nothing else is going to work.
And so, Mocha, what's your book? You had a book that came out. What's your book? Talk to us a little bit about that before we wrap.
Okay. Well, the book I started working on that is called the Mocha Method. I kind of switched to that, and I'm working more on a biography book now. But I have to get that other book done. I've contributed to books, but the book that I'm working on that you're talking about is called the Mocha Method. And that's realizing that there are strategies that I have used throughout the years that, people might call, and first-time authors call, and, they want publicity services, but, I will tell them in a heartbeat, when you're a first-time author and you haven't got a big budget, you don't need a publicist. There are things that you can do on your own. When your schedule starts to become so overwhelming, that's when you call the publicist in. But in the meantime, it was, tricks in how to call up news companies, how to write a book, literary press release, how to partner with organizations who are interested in your subject matter, how to do bulk sales with those organizations when they might not have a budget to pay you, but they'll say, okay, we can buy X amount of books, or we can guarantee X amount of books will be sold. And there are different ways to do it and how to get your message out there. So it's almost done. I'm going to put it out this year. Definitely this year. Definitely this year. I know. But, I created an entire different company. I've started Mocha Media, which is a digital publishing platform. So
Okay.
maybe what I'll do is I'll sort of add some of that to it, too, of what I've learned in publishing. So I can probably add some of that, too. But it is called the Mocha Man.
But didn't it come out last year?
It did not. It did not.
Mocha, I'm gonna get you.
I know. I know. Listen, I'm used to working with you guys. I did not realize. Let me tell you want me to be truthful? I'll be honest with you. It completely. There's no reason why. There's one reason why that book isn't finished. Only one reason why.
Mocha.
Because I got so intimidated by putting my words out there in like an immortal space. I don't know how you guys do it. It's like you've opened up your soul to complete vulnerability. And I was just like, ugh. And then for my industry writers, it's like, I just got so intimidated of bearing the soul of my words out there. So I kind of ran back into my corner. But, I had to do some work on me. That was just an indicator that I had to do some work on me and remember that I know that I know that I know. I know who I am. I know what I've done. So I'm at the place now where I can it's just time now. But at that time, I got real intimidated. That's why. Honest transparency. That's why it didn't come out.
Well, and I love it. And I think that maybe that should be the, the preface?
Yeah.
Or preface?
Yeah.
Like in sharing that. Yeah. Because I think that people oftentimes think that it's just easy and we just do the things that we do and we don't have our own like checkpoints where we're like, wait, hold up.
Right.
Is this really what we want to do? Is this, and so that transparency is always, I feel like that level of vulnerability that connects to the hearts of your audience.
Right. I was so busy pushing you guys, behind you guys, pushing, you can do it. When it got on the other foot, I was like, whoa.
Well, now we're pushing you. You got it.
Yes, absolutely.
No, this was so much fun. Thank you for joining me, Mocha.
Anytime.
All right. Well, at 1:00, I believe we have Tori Sudan. Have you had Tori's shoes before? Have you tried her shoes? I love Tori's shoes.
No, I need to.
Have you met Tori before?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'll definitely be connecting you all.
Okay, cool.
But yes, up next at 1:00, we will be doing our interview with Tori Sudan, and we'll be talking about her luxury shoe label, her brand, everything that Tori has done, the importance of knowing your worth, negotiating your worth. Today is Black Women's Equal Pay Day. The reason why it's on today is because it would take a woman of color up until today of 2020 to make what their white counterparts made at the end of last year, which is completely absurd. But that is where we are. And this is why we're having these conversations of things that you can do around knowing your worth and going after what it is that you know that you rightfully deserve. Thank you so much, Mocha, for joining us for our first interview. This was so much fun. I can't wait to share it and push it out. And yes, and we'll be talking anyway. So
all right. Thank you for doing what you do and having me on.
Oh, absolutely. All
Okay.
right. And we will see you all that are joining us at 1 o'clock. All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye.